The Marlins take on the Phillies, 6:05 Eastern first pitch. The Philadelphia Phillies are minus 115, totals 9.5, juice to the over. The Marlins are minus 105 for some money line cash. And if you like them on the run line, they're minus 190, catching the 1.5. Zach Thompson on the mound for Miami. Vince Velasquez for Philadelphia. Now, we went 5-1 in our 6 premium sports picks on my Patreon website yesterday. We also improved to 3-1 in our last 4 board member tier package picks on that Patreon page. And the good news is we have another board member tier package pick going off here this evening. We're also hitting at 69% in our last 16 board member tier package picks in that very same category. We currently have over 925 folks who are signed up and active on my Patreon page. And if you want to see which one of these picks are being featured on my Patreon site, link for that site is in the description section below. Once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And despite a pretty dismal performance out of Philadelphia yesterday in the early going in that ball game, they're still playing their best baseball on their home field. 25-17 straight up at Citizens Bank Park. This Phillies pitching staff's also in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed at home. They're fanning 10.2 batters a game at Citizens Bank Park. Vince Velasquez has struck out 77 batters in just over 72 innings. Philadelphia is taking on a last-place Marlins club who really struggles at the plate. Bottom 3 in the league in strikeouts at the plate. 3.9 runs a game they're averaging. That is it. The Marlins have also struggled on the road this season as well. Winners of just 18 out of 48 away from home. When it comes to the total in this one, Miami's they're 21-15 to the under in their divisional games this year. While the Phillies have gone 25-19 to the under in their divisional games themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia Phillies minus 115 and the under 9.5. Next ball game, Pods, Nats, 7:05 East. The San Diego Padres are minus 135, numbers 9.5. Blake Snell for San Diego, Patrick Corbin for Washington. Despite an embarrassing performance last night by Washington, they still have Patrick Corbin on the bump here today, who's got himself 6 wins thus far in the season. And despite Washington's struggles, they still have a winning record at Nationals Park. The Nats are in the top 10 in fewest runs allowed at home. They're taking on a Padres club who's got a losing road record against National League opponents this year. The Pods have gotten the W in just 16 out of 36 road games against the National League. And they're also in the bottom half of the league in road walks allowed. Blake Snell also comes into today's contest with a, what are we saying here? 3-3 record and a 4.99 ERA. The lefty's also walked 44 batters and has a whip of 1.55. And contrary to last night's contest, we're still looking at a Washington club who's 33-14 to the under at Nationals Park. They're also 57-33 to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Nationals plus 1.5 and the under 9.5 runs. Next ball game, Mets, Pirates, 7:05 p.m. Eastern start time. The New York Mets are minus 170, numbers 9 flat. Tyler McGill for New York, Will Crow for Pittsburgh. As bad as Crow's been this season, the righty still struck out 50 batters in just 55 innings pitched. And believe it or not, Pittsburgh's actually on a 2-game winning streak. And they also got the job done in 6 out of their last 9. The Pirates have successfully cashed in on the run line in 6 out of their last 10 outings as well. 4-2 against the number in their last 6 at PNC Park. And even though they don't put many runners across the plate, the Pirates are in the top 3 in the majors and fewest strikeouts in the box. Now they're taking on a Mets club who struggles to get on the board, really struggles at the plate. They're in the bottom 3 in hits per game, and they average just 3.7 runs per contest. Now the Mets have also been terrible on the road, winners of just 19 out of 46 road games, and that's good for only 41% in that particular category. They also have Tyler McGill on the bump here today, who, despite showing some really good stuff, kind of in the first half of the season, showing some really good stuff recently, well, He still only has 18 innings under his belt thus far, so he certainly lacks experience. Now, total-wise, New York saw 2 out of their last 3 road games stay under the line. Meanwhile, the Pirates saw 3 out of their last 6 road games stay under the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Pittsburgh Pirates plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. All right, next ball game I have for you looks like a little divisional action here. I'm talking about the Brewers versus the Reds, 7:10 East. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 145, totals 8. Brandon Woodruff for Milwaukee, Luis Castillo for Cincy. Now, Castillo's having a really rough year. Just 3-10 straight up on the season with a 4.64 ERA. The righties also walked 45 batters and has a whip of 1.41. Now, this Reds pitching staff is also in the bottom 3 in runs allowed at home. And they're walking 4.1 batters a game at the Great American Ballpark. They're taking on a first-place Brewers club who's played really well against their divisional opponents on the road. The Brewers are currently 14-6 straight up when they travel against the NL Central. Milwaukee also leads the majors in striking batters out, and they allow just 3.4 runs a game away from their home field. Brandon Woodruff is 7-4 with a 2.06 ERA and a .82 whip. The righties also fanned 129 batters this year as well. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, Milwaukee's 11-9 to the over in their road divisional games. Meanwhile, the Reds are 25-19 to the over at the Great American Ballpark. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 145 and the over 8 runs. Next ball game, Orioles versus the Royals, 7:10 p.m. East. Now this game's currently off the board. Brady Singer for Kansas City, Georgie Lopez for Baltimore. Now Lopez is just 2-12 on the year with a 5.95 ERA and a 1.63 whip. The O's have lost 4 out of their last 5 road games, and they went just 2-8 straight up in their last 10 outings at any location. The last place O's are 34 games below 500. They also have the fewest wins in the American League. They're in the bottom 3 in runs allowed. Now they're taking on a Kansas City squad who's in the top 5 in home hits. Of course, Salvi Perez, he's in the top 15 in home runs. He's hit 21 homers along with 55 RBI. Meanwhile, Carlos Santana's hit 15 bombs and knocked in 50. This Kansas City lineup's in the top 5 in fewest strikeouts at the plate at home. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals winning this one outright for some money line cash. Next matchup should be a good one here. I'm talking about the White Sox versus the Astros, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. The Chicago White Sox are minus 115, totals 9. Lucas Giolito for the White Sox, Jake Odorizzi for Houston. Odorizzi, has a 3.61 ERA and a .99 whip. The first place Astros are currently 20 games above 500, and they lead the majors in scoring. Michael Brantley's batting .329, which is in the top 5 in the league. Meanwhile, Jose Altuve's hit 20 home runs and knocked in 55. This Houston lineup's also leading the league in hits on average per game. They're taking on a White Sox club who's got Lucas Giolito on the bump here today. And although his strikeouts have been high as usual, he still has 6 losses on the year, along with a 4.15 ERA. So certainly some problem areas for this Chicago team, especially with their ace. Now total-wise, Chicago's gone 27-18 to the under at Guaranteed Rate Field. While the Astros went 70% to the under in their last 10 themselves, 3-1 to the under in their last 4 road games. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros plus $1 in the under 9. Next ball game, another divisional matchup here. I'm talking about the Red Sox versus the Yankees, 7:15 Eastern first pitch. The New York Yankees are minus 135, totals 8 juice to the under. Garrett Cole for New York, Nathan Eovaldi for Boston. Now, Eovaldi's 9-5 on the season, 3.66 ERA, and 99 strikeouts. The first place Red Sox are 20 games over 500, and they rank in the top 3 in the majors in hits. Rafael Devers, he's hit 22 home runs and knocked in 72. He's second in the majors in RBI. Meanwhile, Xander Bogaerts is batting .318 with an OPS of .924. Boston has been dominant in divisional play, 13-4 straight up against the AL East on the road. They're taking on a Yankee club who's played poorly against their divisional foes. Now, out of New York's 20 divisional games at home, they've gotten the W just 6 times. As a matter of fact, the Yankees are just 17 and 25 straight up in all of their divisional games this year. This Yankee lineup's in the bottom 10 in home scoring, and they average nearly double-digit strikeouts a game in the Bronx. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, New York's gone 60% to the under in their divisional games at home. Meanwhile, the Bo Sox are 6-1 to the under in their last 7 road games themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox plus $110 and the under 8 runs. Next ball game, Giants versus the Cards, 7:15 East. The San Francisco Giants are minus 120, numbers 8 flat. Anthony DeSclafani for the Giants, Kwang Young Kim for St. Louis. Now, Kim's just 4-5 on the season, and the Cardinals find themselves in second to last place in the NL Central. The Cardinals lost 5 out of their last 8 ball games, and they're in the bottom 3 in home scoring. This Cardinals lineup averages only 3.8 runs a game at Busch Stadium. They're taking on a first-place Giants team who's on a 5-game winning streak, and they also got the W in 8 out of their last 10. The Giants are 28 and 19 when traveling, and they lead the majors in fewest walks allowed per 9. This Giants pitching staff gives up just 3.4 runs a game when they travel. And of course, Anthony DeSclafani, he's 10-3 thus far in the year, 2.68 ERA and a 1.00 WHIP. Now, the righties also fanned 99 batters. When it comes to the scoring in this one, the Giants went 60% to the over in their last 10. 3-1 to the over in their last 4 on the road. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants minus 120 in the over 8. Next matchup, little interleague play here. I'm talking about the Rays versus the Braves. 7:20 Eastern start time. The Atlanta Braves are minus $1.15, numbers 8.5. Max Fried for Atlanta, Josh Fleming for Tampa Bay. Fleming's 7-4 with a 3.26 ERA and a 1.03 WHIP. The Rays are just 1.5 games out of first place in the AL East, and they're also 17 games over 500. Tampa's gotten the W in 7 out of their last 8 ball games, and they're in the top 3 in road scoring. Brandon Lowe's hit 21 homers and knocked in 48. Meanwhile, Mike Zunino's hit 19 bombs and drove in 38 himself. They're taking on an Atlanta club who lost 4 out of their last 7. They find themselves with a losing record. They've also really struggled with American League opponents. They're 0-6 in their interleague games at home, 2-11 in their interleague games overall for the season. This Braves pitching staff is in the bottom 10 in runs allowed at home, and of course, Max Fried comes into today's contest with a 4.71 ERA and a 1.39 WHIP. Now, total-wise, Atlanta went 60% to the over in their last 10 outings, 30-17 to the over in their contest at Truist Park. Meanwhile, the Rays are 30-16 to the over when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays plus $1 and the over 8.5. Next contest, Dodgers versus the Rockies, 8:10 p.m. East. The LA Dodgers are minus 255, totals 11.5. Walker Buehler for Los Angeles, Kyle Freeland for Colorado. Now, Freeland's just 1-3 on the season, 5.48 ERA and a 1.66 WHIP. This Colorado pitching staff also strikes out the fewest batters out of any other major league team. They're taking on a Dodger club who leads the majors in walks at the plate. This Dodger lineup is also in the top 3 in scoring. Justin Turner's batting .304 and ranks in the top 25 in OPS. Meanwhile, Max Muncy's hit 19 homers and has an OPS of .964. Meanwhile, defensively, the Dodgers are in the top 3 in fewest hits allowed per game. They only give up 3.6 runs per contest. Of course, Walker Buehler, he's a staggering 9-1 thus far in the year with a 2.36 ERA and a .92 WHIP. Now, the righty's also averaging a strikeout an inning. He's got 114 total strikeouts on the year. The LA pitchers average double-digit strikeouts per 9. When it comes to the total in this one, the Dodgers went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games, 4-3 to the over in their last 7 on the road. Meanwhile, the Rockies are 11-9 to the over in their divisional games at Coors Field. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers -1.5 and the over 11.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup. It is going to be Mariners versus the Angels, 9:07 Eastern first pitch. The LA Angels are -135, totals 8.5 flat. Alex Cobb for LA, Yusei Kikuchi for Seattle. But despite great numbers out of the Cooch man, Seattle still has a losing record when they travel. Just 19 and 23 straight up on the road this season. Dead last in the majors in hits on average per game. The Seattle lineup's also fanning nearly 10 times a game at the plate. They're taking on an Angels club who's got a winning home record and ranks in the top 5 in home hits. David Fletcher's in the top 10 in the majors in batting average. The third baseman's hitting .314 with 131 total bases. Meanwhile, Shohei Ohtani's hit 33 homers and knocked in 72. Sho's also got an OPS of 1.052, arguably the most dominant player in baseball right now. And of course, honorable mention has to go to Jared Walsh. He's in the top 10 in both homers and RBI for Los Angeles. And when it comes to the pitching in this one, LA's currently in the top 10 in striking batters out per game. Alex Cobb is 6-3 on the year with 74 strikeouts and just 66 innings of work. When it comes to the total in this one, the Angels are 10-5 to the over in their divisional games at home. They're also 31-16 to the over at Angel Stadium for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Mariners are 28-14 to the over when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the LA Angels -135 and the over 8.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Philadephia -115 under 9.5. Washington +1.5 under 9.5. Pittsburgh +1.5 under 9 runs. Milwaukee -145 over 8. Kansas City winning that one outright for some money line cash. I also like Houston +$1 in the under, I believe it's the under 10 runs. Boston +$1.10 under 8 runs. San Francisco -$1.20 over 8. Tampa Bay +$1 over 8.5. LA Dodgers -1.5 over 11.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-1 in our last 4 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also hitting at 69% our last 16 board member tier package picks in that very same category. Give me the LA Angels -135 and the over 8.5. And guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. You guys do end up getting a package here today on my Patreon website. Just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today, you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of July. And if you continue to opt in, you're going to get billed again on August 1st. As I normally say, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.